Hi there, my name's Jacob and welcome back to another b.Board tutorial. Today, I thought we would talk about these tiny white squares on your b.Board. There's 5 of them and we like to call them BLiXels. If you haven't done so already, why don't we go to code.brilliantlabs.ca, start a new project. I think I'll call mine BLiXel tutorial. All right, so here we are, new project, B.L.I.X.E.L. tutorial. And what microbit am I using? Today, V1. I'm going to insert that into my b.Board so that it is fully seated just like this. Okay. Hit create microbit V1, and here we are, a fresh new project on code.brilliantlabs.ca to explore the BLiXels. Now, all of the blocks for using the BLiXels can be found underneath b.Board and the BLiXel category. There are a lot of blocks. In fact, there's even more underneath the more category. But we're gonna go through all of them, so don't worry about which category you're in. Just go back. Now, all of the blocks for using the BLiXels can be found in our code categories underneath b.Board. Once we click on the b.Boards, and we scroll down to BLiXel, and we click on it, and we can already see that there is a subcategory that we will get into momentarily. The first and easiest block to use is the top block. Set all BLiXels to red. You can see that this is red by default, but you can choose your own color from the easy drop-down menu. So this block changes the color of all 5 BLiXels on the b.Board at once to the color of your choice. I'm going to drop this block into the on-start event block so that when our b.Board and the microbit power on, the first thing it does is it shows the color you chose all across the 5 BLiXels. So here we go, set all BLiXels to red being dropped into the on-start event block. Okay, well that was easy enough, but what if I don't want any of the colors from this drop-down list here? It'd be great if there was a way that we could make our own color out of all of the colors that exist in the spectrum. Well, let's look at how we can make any of these colors that we want. Keeping all that in mind, if you select the BLiXel subcategory again, you'll see another subcategory below it called More. If we click on that, we see a block that has red, green, and blue, each with a value of 255. I'm going to drop this into my set all BLiXels to color block with the values 234, 30, and 200. So here we are, dropping that instead of red. That removes the red, and we are going to use the values 230 for red, and using tab, 30, and 200 for blue. There we are. Okay, let's try programming this code to our b.Board to see what happens. If you aren't familiar with how to program and power your b.Board, be sure to check out our other videos to familiarize yourself with this process. For me, I am connected to my b.Board right now via USB. And I'm connected to my IDE using the Web over USB function. So as soon as I hit download, it is going to initiate the download sequence and you will see the yellow light. Whoa! Look at that! Purple. So this code combination of red with the value of 230, green with the value of 30, and blue with the value of 200 makes purple or violet or some shade in between. Cool. We've got our red and blue values set high and our green set low. That really should make purple. Now would be a good time to point out that you could have also used the hue, saturation, luminosity, or HSL block under More to create your own custom color. Let's take a look at where to find that. Under BLiXel, and then under More, here we are here, we have hue, saturation, luminosity. HSL is another way of defining color where the hue is a degree on the color wheel from 0 to 360. 0 is red, 120 is green, 240 is blue. Saturation is expressed by a percentage value. 0 means a shade of gray, and 99% or 99 is the full color. Lightness is also a percentage. 0 is black, and 99% is white. Try experimenting with different RGB or HSL colors to see what you can come up with. For now, let's take a look at some other blocks under the BLiXels menu. We're going to use the magic of film and fast forward through me putting together a quick project to really explore the entirety of this block library. Here we go. Wow, that was fast. Let's see what I wrote here in the code and what we might think will happen once we transfer it over to our b.Board. When I press button A, like this, I gave a unique color to each BLiXel. On your b.Board, your BLiXels are numbered left to right. This is BLiXel 1, followed by 2, 3, 4, and 5. After each BLiXel color is set, there is a final block at the bottom that determines the brightness. Here, I'm using 30, and remember, this is between 0 and 100% for full brightness. On button B, you can see that we change the colors of each BLiXel and then give it a brightness of 70%. And then finally on button A and press together, we turn off all the BLiXels. All right, let's give the entirety of the program a try. I've downloaded my code, transferred it over to my b.Board, and I've unplugged the USB cable from the b.Board so that we can see the BLiXels in all of their glory. They're not obstructed. I'll power on the b.Board. Look at that, here's our on start event code, turning a shade of violet, and we're going to push A. There we are. Our BLiXels are illuminating at a brightness of 30. Each of them has a different color. I push B. Now each of them has a new color. It's difficult to see the difference with this lighting. And if I push A and B together, they turn off. The code has worked. Now that we see that our code works, pushing A, look at all those great colors, it's probably a good time to tell you about a little manufacturing foible that we encountered with the b.Board. If you found that your colors of your BLiXels are not turning out to the way that you expected them to be, it may be that you have a version of the b.Board where the manufacturing of the BLiXels was a bit different. So to correct that, you can drag a block located under the More subcategory of BLiXels, BLiXel color correction, and you can put that onto your on start event block. And this is going to correct the hues of the BLiXels such that it reflects the colors that you expected them to be in your code. Okay, back to the blocks. There are just a few left to discuss. This is a big category. So let's go back to the More subcategory of BLiXel and take a look at the block with the drop-down color menu. Do you remember how we said RGB was made up of 3 values, each with a value of 0 to 255? So if you wanted to know what the number of a certain color worked out to be, you could take this drop-down block and assign it to a variable. It's not something that you're going to use too often, but it will allow you to do that. The next block is the Show block. This block tells the BLiXels to show any changes that have been coded to them. But at the current recording of this video, all BLiXel blocks use this block inside of them by default. So this one's not really necessary until a later date. The last block we have to talk about is a personal favorite of mine. Buckle in, there's a lot to this block, but it's awesome. The Show BLiXel bar graph block lets us use the 5 BLiXels on the b.Board as a bit of a bar graph. If you don't know what a bar graph or a histogram is, that's okay. You'll know by the end of this video. I want you to imagine that the b.Board was connected to a water detecting sensor. This sensor returns the value from 0 to 5 for how full or how empty the cup is. If the cup was empty, it would return a value of 0, all the way to it being full with a value of 5. With this in mind, we could write some code that said, when the sensor returns 0, turn off all of the BLiXels. When it returns 1, light up 1 BLiXel, 2 BLiXels, and so on, up to the full cup of 5 BLiXels. Well, that's easy enough. And that would be a simple bar graph that tells you the height of the water in the cup from no water with 0 BLiXels lit up all the way to a full cup with 5 BLiXels on. Now, what happens though if our sensor instead returned a value from 0 to 100, depending on how much water is in the cup? How do we know when to turn on BLiXel 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 and so on? Well, thankfully we have a nice block that will do just that. The show BLiXel bar graph block asks for 2 things. The first is the variable you are tracking. In our previous example of the water sensor, it was the level of water. For example today, let's look at the amount of light coming in to the microbit. So let's get into the code. First, let's place our show BLiXel bar graph block into a forever loop. Here we are. And to find the forever loop, I click back on basic and bring the forever loop back out into my code and show BLiXel bar graph of variable with a max value. And I'm gonna rearrange this a little bit so you can see it on your screen better. So here we are, there's my forever loop. And move that over there, move that there, move that. Next, let's grab the light level block from under input. Now, something that can always tell us a little bit more information is when I hover over these blocks in the toolbox. So if I hover over light level until I see the hand cursor icon, it says, reads the light level applied to the LED screen of the microbit. That's that 5x5 25 LED grid or matrix. And from a range of 0, dark, to 255, bright. Okay, cool. I'm going to drag and drop this into the first value of the show BLiXel bar graph. And that becomes the variable that I am tracking, the sensor data that I am tracking. Finally, we need to tell the block what the maximum value is that will illuminate all 5 BLiXels. And so, in our case, it's 255. So I'm going to come over here with the max value of 255. So I think my code is written. Why don't we download this and drag it over to our microbit and our b.Board, plugging in the microbit here. There we are. Wow. Okay. I see the startup script happening again. I have it paired and it's downloaded. That's great. All right. So I have my BLiXel bar graph block in my code. Why don't we try putting this program onto our b.Board again and see if we have a real-time bar graph. I have my b.Board connected via USB to the microbit. It's powered on and I am going to hit download and it should automatically transfer. Let's see, switching to the overhead cam. Oh my goodness, I think it's already done. That flash and I see that it's transferring. All right, well, why don't we test it? If I hit A, it flashes those BLiXels and it turns off because it's waiting for my bar graph to show because that's in the forever loop. Now, nothing's turning on. I wonder if that's because it thinks it is dark. I've already tried this, and so that's exactly what's happening. So I have a handy dandy other light source here, and check this out. Whoa! Yeah, isn't that cool? So the b.Board is picking up the light signals. And so the microbit, this 5x5 LED pixel array here, also is able to sense the amount of light from a light source. And the b.Board is interpreting that information and is illuminating the BLiXels accordingly. How cool is that? Whoa, 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 whoa. That's a pretty cool little light show. All right, I think in the entirety of this video, we have now covered most of the functionality of the BLiXels. And so it's up to you to combine everything that you've learned and figure how your BLiXels are going to become the feature of your next b.Board project. Now, remember, let us know if you have any questions and stay brilliant.